Okay, so before anything else, I want to be straight with you. Prediction content during a World Cup is everywhere. Most of it is so cautious it tells you nothing useful, and the rest goes so far out that it stops being a real take and starts being a stunt. I am not doing either. Five things I actually believe will happen at this tournament, not things that could happen if circumstances are kind. Things I think are genuinely already on their way. I will walk you through my thinking on each one. Here we go. 1. Lamine Yamal becomes the story of this entire tournament. Calling this a prediction feels almost too easy at this point. He turned 18 6 days before the World Cup final is scheduled to be played. He won Young Player of the Tournament at Euro 2024 and has not taken a step back since. He scored 42 goals across 2 club seasons after that. He already had 25 caps for Spain before this tournament started, and he had already scored his first World Cup goal in a 4-0 win over Saudi Arabia before most viewers had even properly settled in. 13 out of 19 ESPN writers covering this World Cup picked him as the best young player of the tournament. 5 of those went further and picked him as the best player of the tournament, full stop. That is not a few people going out on a limb. That is as close to a shared view as you get from a group of football writers. Spain are genuine favorites to win this whole thing. Their system is designed specifically to create space for him on the right and let him make decisions. What separates Yamal from most players his age is that he does not react to big moments by getting careful. He gets more confident. By the time the knockout stage is in full swing, the main conversation around this World Cup will be one question. Can this teenager carry Spain to a World Cup? He is 18. He plays like that question has not even crossed his mind. 2. Mbappe wins the Golden Boot. He won it at Qatar 2022 with 8 goals. France are his penalty taker. He has 12 World Cup goals across 14 appearances before 2026 even started. He scored a hat-trick in the 2022 final and his side still lost. The case against him is not nothing. France have so many players capable of scoring that the goals might spread out rather than concentrate. Michael Olise had a hat-trick in France's final warm-up match against Northern Ireland before the tournament. Griezmann is still around. It is a real concern, not a made-up one. But Mbappe in a knockout tournament is a genuinely different player to Mbappe in any other setting. Pressure does not make him cautious. It makes him want more of the ball and take on more of the responsibility. He scored 3 in a World Cup final even while losing. France are going to be at this tournament very late into July, and in the moments where they need a game decided, he will be the one deciding it. The Golden Boot is not going anywhere without him. 3. An African team reaches the semifinals. This is the prediction I expect the most pushback on, so let me actually explain it rather than just throwing it out there. The conditions at this tournament are being treated as a footnote. They are not. 30 degrees Celsius at multiple venues across the US and Mexico during match hours. European teams that are built around relentless pressing and high defensive lines. Doing that for 90 minutes in that kind of heat is a completely different physical challenge from what those teams do for 9 months of their domestic season. Morocco made the semifinals at Qatar 2022. A lot of people filed that away as a nice story that would not be repeated. What Morocco actually showed was a defensive structure that almost nothing could get through, and enough quality going forward to punish teams when the chance came. That kind of setup does not disappear. Senegal have real quality across the squad. Egypt have Salah, who is still among the very best players in the world at this level. Any of those 3 teams are better suited to grinding through this tournament in these conditions than a physically drained European side trying to press for a 7th game in 30-something days. The heat is not a minor detail. It will decide matches that nobody expected it to decide. At least one African team is in the Final Four. 4. Argentina go out before the final. I know, bear with me. Messi is here and he has already produced things at this tournament that people will talk about for years. Argentina are the defending champions. You do not dismiss them and you especially do not dismiss him. But the squad around him is not the same squad that went through Qatar. The defensive organization that carried them through tight games in 2022 is harder to find in this group, and the historical pattern is very consistent. Nobody has won back-to-back World Cups since Brazil did it in 1958 and 1962. That is not a gap that exists by accident. Defending a World Cup means arriving without the raw need that drives a team through 7 knockout rounds. Argentina needed that trophy in Qatar in a way that pushed them through moments where they should have gone out. 4 years later, that feeling is something you cannot just decide to have again. Not one ESPN writer picked Argentina to repeat as champions, even among the 7 who expected them to go deep. Deep run, yes. The final, no. They will meet France or Spain somewhere in the last 4, and that is where the road ends for the defending champions. 5. This tournament ends with a final nobody expected. Every World Cup does this. 2018 gave us France and Croatia. 2022 gave us Argentina and France in one of the greatest games the final has ever produced. Neither of those was the clean, obvious outcome that most predictions had landed on. No European country has ever won a World Cup held in the Americas. That record stretches back across the entire history of the competition. I think 2026 is where it ends. France and Spain are the 2 squads at this tournament with the depth to absorb a bad result without falling apart and the individual quality to hurt any team when the game opens up. Both know how to win matches that stay tight. Both know how to win when it becomes a shootout. A France versus Spain final is the best game this World Cup could give us. 2 complete squads, a tactical contest with world-class players on both sides, the kind of final that gets replayed for years. The best young player in the world against the best penalty box striker in the world. A game that goes to extra time and gets decided by one moment. Spain win, Yamal scores. The sport gets its next era, introduced at the biggest tournament in football by a teenager who looked throughout the whole thing like none of the pressure was reaching him. That is where this is heading. I genuinely believe that is where we end up.